Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today and the rest of us on the panel. And today we're going to be talking about AI-assisted essay marking. So it's a very exciting day for us here at Graide, and hopefully you could share in the excitement with us. And we're hopefully going to be talking about how you can save time, enhance feedback, and gain from the investment of marking every year. First things first, let's talk a little bit about Graide. So I'm Manjinder, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Graide, and we are a spin-out from the University of Birmingham. While we were educators, we experienced the pain associated with giving high-quality feedback to assessments in a timely manner, and we realized that there were systemic issues that needed to be solved. So as a result of that, we built Graide to try to tackle those specific issues, and now we've grown from 2019 to work with multiple different institutions of various varieties, universities, exam boards, colleges, online colleges, etc., from around the world. And it's been quite a nice journey. And interestingly, it's quite a special time within education right now because a technological revolution has begun. During COVID, we had to digitize our entire assessment practices. Pen and paper just wasn't good enough anymore. And through the current wave that we're living through with AI, ChatGPT, generative AI, and we're living in an environment where we need to adapt the way we teach and the way we deliver experiences for all our students, because at the end of the day, the entire world is moving and we need to move with it. It's quite a special time within education. But onto the problem at hand, and that is essay marking. I don't think I need to explain too much. Essay marking is a multifaceted problem. There are lots of little issues that, when brought together, just make the entire process really quite awkward and annoying. For example, there are multiple systems that you have to use when giving feedback and delivering these assessments. There's a lot of reading, which takes up a significant amount of time. And if you're dealing with scale, and you might have hundreds of students, consistency issues naturally build up. And this problem is faced by everybody within the education paradigm. For students, experience low formative volume. That means that they want more practice questions before high stakes events. There are long timelines involved, 3 weeks often. By then, students may have even forgotten what they had said. And there are often consistency and quality issues when it comes to feedback. And on the educator side, it is a big time sink. And most of that time sink is due to the repetition. There is very little analytics that you get for a result of all that work that you're putting in, which makes the feed-forward mechanisms quite difficult to implement. And there's no additional value generation. Every single year, you do this marking, and of course you get the immediate feedback, but nothing else happens for that for future years. It's just like lost into the ether. And when we built Graide, we noticed from a system point of view, everything was very segmented, and that caused a lot of issues. So if you were delivering, say, formative assignments or summative assignments, it was different platforms. The place where you created and delivered the assignment is different to where the students attempted it, or they got their feedback, or where you marked it, and it was just a big nightmare. So the first thing that we sought out to do was just to clean up this mess and make it so that every single thing associated with assessment feedback happened in one place. That removed all the unnecessary bottlenecks in the middle of everything. And our ethos has been pretty simple from the beginning. We want to use technology to make your life easy, and then where possible, we want AI to supercharge you. It's there to act as your assistant, where you're always in the loop, and you always have final say, but it just makes things so much easier and so much faster. So let's talk a bit about those improving systems. The first thing is, we can make it so that you can mark questions per question at scale. So if you've got hundreds of students and you're doing entire papers at a time, mentally it's just easier to remove that burden by doing one question across the entire set rather than one paper and then another paper and then another paper. We could build systems of collaboration for feedback, like Google Docs for feedback. And that meant that you could have a team of people mark at the same time. We could use the interaction information that you have and knowledge of how you're tagging particular elements of the system to give you high quality analytics which you could use for future teaching. We could do small things like sum up the grades for you and synchronize them into your learning management system automatically. It sounds like a small thing, but it takes you 30 seconds to a minute for each student. And you've got hundreds of students, that's hours of time that just disappears. And by creating one place where everything occurs, you improve the moderation transparency significantly. Now, this talk is about AI. So I think the natural question before we talk about the fantastic stuff that AI can do is, should we even expect AI to help in the first place? When we think about this type of problem, usually there's just a big bucket of data, there's some type of neural network classifier, and then you can bring in new data and you can then predict against the type of stuff that you trained against. Now, that sort of sounds like the problem that we have with marking and feedback, but it isn't really, because, well, first, the quantity of data that you have in these systems is much lower than the stuff that you train this big data models for. So you might have image recognition on your phone and all these sort of cool large data models, but when we're marking essays, we might have tens or hundreds, and that is a lot, but it's not tens of thousands. So the data problem is immediately an issue. The second thing is educator feedback is quite specific to that particular educator, or even the group of team people that are grading that particular set of work. And the last thing you really want is to have lots of different aspects to come together to kind of contaminate your data and contaminate the way that you want to give feedback. You really want it to be quite specific to you and not just generic. So really, if we want AI to help in this space, one, we need it to be working at low quantities of data, and two, it needs to be personal to that particular educator or team of educators. So you might be thinking, so AI can't help. Well, that's where we stepped in. We realized there was a way to actually assist here. And that's the main reason for this, is because when we look at the way students give answers, they have a myriad of different content elements. They bring in different points, they argue things in particular ways, they reference things in particular ways, and this can look like a vast body of work. But when we're actually grading those things ourselves, what we noticed is that that approach is much simpler, and there's a kind of a simple answer space that exists there. So if we can sit in the middle and create a system to simplify the true answer space and what we think the answers should be and how they exist in that space, we can build a system where the AI can actually help you and process things and update things as you're giving feedback and as you're learning. And one of the really cool things about this is it works with very little data, which solves point one, and is very personal to the team that's marking that particular question, which is point two. And the goal, of course, of this is to make it so that students can have increased formative volume, they can practice multiple times before a high-stakes exam, they can have faster turnaround, it can be 3 days instead of 3 weeks, and you can improve the consistency and quality of feedback. And for educators, we want to reduce that workload. Of course, we want to improve those analytics so you have better oversight, but what's really quite cool is that investment that you're putting into the marking can train an AI you to reuse for later years for the practice questions. And that's quite exciting because now all that effort you're putting into the system is actually being invested into something that you can use in later years. So now I'm going to hand over to Oxbridge, specifically first Matt Jones, who's the MD of Oxbridge, to talk about his experience and then later we're going to jump to Matthew and Lynn talking about their experience with Graide.
Well, hi there, Manjinder. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Matt Jones, founder and MD of Oxbridge. We're an online college. We're, I believe, Graide's first full customer. So I'd like to just share a little bit of experience that I've had with dealing with Graide, actually. But first and foremost, look, I'm a technologist and I'm very focused on, well, look, it's been obvious to me that, you know, education is often at risk of being left behind when technology develops. We're an industry that's usually lagging somewhere, it generally is with technology. I guess that comes from a fundamental issue that nobody in learning establishments is really given space or incentive to innovate, and especially from a technological point of view. And I guess we're often on the back foot, battling all kinds of other issues. So technology often has to take a second place. I just wanted to run through a little bit of experience just on 3 points really of dealing with Graide, and that's as follows really, and just the improvement that we've seen for our markers. So look, marking traditionally has been have a script in your hand and mark that linearly, one after another. All kinds of problems with doing that, but that's the way we've done it for well over 100 years, and that's the way that most providers continue to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It works well, it could work better. I think the biggest thing that struck me with Graide, and if even if you put the AI to one side for a second, biggest thing that struck me with Graide was the marking interface, which all of the feedback that we collect internally from our markers is that it's significantly faster, significantly better from a user point of view when they're dealing with this system. I think the hope for us is that eventually it will automate all of the markers admin. So look, ultimately, teachers, tutors, markers, they want to be doing what they love. And in this modern world where we've got to collect KPIs, we've got to collect feedback, we all find ourselves having to do a hell of a lot of admin. So there's a hope at Oxbridge that we'll be able to automate quite a lot of that for them and get people back to what they love. And ultimately, there are a vast array of benefits in doing that. I think really, look, Graide as a marking interface, as well as it addresses a lot of the pain points that markers have. I mean, look, one example would be marking fatigue. I know that once markers get past 8, 9, 10 in a row, it often becomes tiresome. So actually Graide has really helped with that as well, and it's made people more efficient at this end. I think the biggest thing for me, and the biggest, although I'm going to put this one in the middle, the biggest one for me is the improvement for students. So look, clearly, you get faster feedback by using the Graide system, and we're seeing anything from an average where we would historically, mark and return assignments within 7 to 14 days. We're now able to do that with the Graide system with a matter of days, and that's the hope is that we can get that into less than 24 hours as the system develops. So students are really motivated. Actually, the one thing that we don't want to do is slow them down. So this has really helped in doing that. And I think that the other big thing from a student point of view is sort of being able to give more thoughtful and considered feedback, because actually you're not having to repetitively answer the same feedback over and over again. What you're able to do is spend a lot more time on forming a nice bit of feedback that you can give to multiple students. So that's made a big difference for our students as well, and they found that good for development and progression. I think students also love the ability to be able to submit assignments in any format, well, pretty much any format that they desire, whether that be handwritten, typed. The Graide system generally accepts most formats, and that's really good for us because we promise to our students that they can learn how they want to. And so, that really helps support that mission for us as well. Just to give you a bit of maths and numbers on that as well. So what we've seen in the assignments where we're using the Graide system, we're seeing a CSAT improvement. So the feedback that we're getting from people that are using the system, on the student end, is they're seeing around a 15% increase in CSAT, which is amazing. So from a customer service and a support point of view, that's already helped us without having to change much from functioning in how Oxbridge runs. And I think they generally feel more confident in progressing quickly to the next module or unit because they're getting timely feedback and plenty of it. So there's an abundance of feedback there. So what we're doing is we're instilling confidence in these students. And then just talking a bit more widely about the system. So we've got one of the big benefits for myself and Matthew, I'm sure will support this as well, is the standardized marking across the board. So at scale, at any one point, Oxbridge has 10,000 active learners, and at scale, standardization is a really big challenge. So actually supporting us with standardized marking is really useful. And I think from a general point of view, just having that really thoughtful and considered feedback, and tons more of it as well, is really helpful just across the board for students. And I think in terms of where we see some benefits now, you'll notice that I've not talked about financials here. There is, of course, a financial benefit to this. We chose to implement this system slightly differently. So actually, from a resource point of view, the system works for us by improving the student and the marker experience. And actually, finance was a secondary conversation for us, really. But ultimately, what we're seeing is happier students, happier markers, and it's freed up our markers to do the stuff that they love as well. So actually, when you're talking to them, even from a HR point of view, they're having a better time doing what they're doing and getting back to what they love, which is really thought-provoking for me, actually. It makes me wonder what else we can do. But I think just the last thing to say on that really is the amount of feedback that we get as an organisation and a management team. So we can start making decisions on, even down to the granular point of, well, do we need to bolster, I don't know, Unit 3 in this course? Because actually everyone seems to be struggling on that assignment. So perhaps we need to offer a little bit more help and support there. So really from the point of view of making sure that our students are as successful as possible, from a management point of view and a development point of view, we can really look at honing in on when we need to make the student experience as good as possible. And even looking at learners that might need an intervention, a little bit of extra help and support, that's something that we really promote. And Graide identifies that really quickly. So it's kind of my experience with it. Hopefully that helps you, Manjinder and John.
Thank you. Yeah, as Manjinder said, I'm Matthew England. I'm Head of Learning for Oxbridge, and I am lead in the implementation of Graide across all our curriculums. First of all, in terms of the implementation of Graide itself, it is a very user-friendly setup and system. What you expect it to do, it does, and how you use it is straightforward, and you can implement it. As I say, Manjinder's great at giving some training and the videos that are on hand, but once you get hold of it, it's easily explained, it's easily set out and very easy to use. In terms of our tutors, they are very impressed with it and enjoying using it and getting more familiar with it. It's a smooth process for them. It's simple for them to update any feedback. And what they love most about the feedback is that they can categorize it, they can share it amongst themselves. They make sure that it's in line with the mark schemes. And as Matt said previously, it ensures that there's a standardized approach, that everyone's giving the same high quality feedback, and that no matter if new tutors coming on board as well, they're also providing the same feedback, and it's all consistent throughout. So each learner is also getting the same high quality experience at whatever stage they're at in their course and whoever comes on board. The AI as well, a large part of that is also picking up on the feedback, learning as it goes along, what is the right answers, what is not the right answers, what workings out are right or not quite right, and giving the feedback. And that's really excellent, because that again means not only are the tutors able to provide a quick turnaround with their marking, the AI is providing the high quality feedback that's been inputted previously, and we're able to mark quickly, efficiently, but still maintaining that the learners are getting the high quality experience that they need to progress, and most importantly have the developmental feedback that they need to move forward with their course. One other good thing as well about the Graide interface is it gives an overview of all the answers that the students give across the board, which means that we can identify where students are getting all their answers right, but more importantly, where they're not getting their answers right. So if there's a common theme across the cohort, that they're a certain subject or a certain topic that they're struggling on, we can then provide the focus then of that. We can provide extra resources, we can provide extra support, we can put in some extra content to help with that particular area. So that really helps us know where the learners are struggling across the board, but ultimately it helps the learners there and then and moving forwards, that they're getting the help and support that they ultimately need. Like I said and Matt said, the speed within which the tutors can mark is an awful lot quicker than it was before. The inclusion of AI is only going to help speed that even further. And I'm excited to continue with the rollout across our curriculums, and really looking forward to the plans and proposals that Manjinder's got for increasing Graide going forward.
Let's move on to actually, I guess, the really cool thing that we're all here for, which is the AI essay stuff. So before I jump into that, I kind of want to talk a bit about the methodology that we used for the testing and the results that we're going to talk about today. So Oxbridge handily provided us with some data, and we did with those data is we split it up based on the questions, and then we took a statistical sample of the essays that were provided and built an AI model for that particular question. So in this data set, there were 3 particular questions. One was on Othello, one was on poetry, and one was on The Great Gatsby. And they had various amounts of data for each question. We created those AI models, and then we tested that model on the rest of the data and predicted grades, and were able to see how accurate those grades were with the appropriate AI confidence percentage that was involved. And that allowed us to test the efficacy of the platform. Now, I think we should jump into the detail of how it actually works under the hood for the sake of transparency. So from a student's perspective, what happens is the student submits their work, and the AI effectively asks the question, has the AI seen this type of answer before? If it's seen some of it or part of it, an AI suggestion will be generated. At that point, the teacher has to approve or update that suggestion. If it's approved, then it goes directly to the student and they can see that feedback. If it's not approved, or the AI hasn't seen that type of answer before, the teacher then gives feedback and grades that particular response. That is then pushed into the AI learning system before it's given directly to the student. And in terms of the AI learning itself, the essay is first received, and we can compartmentalize the essay into the grades and feedback that was given. And we can then also read and process over hundreds of different parameters within that particular essay. That allows us to create some outcome information and a parameter set, which when you combine those two, generate an AI model that links the parameter set and the outcome set. That means that we can then have an AI essay model that can predict against outcomes for an essay that it's never seen before. And what's wonderful about this is that this is bespoke to that particular question. There's no cross-contamination of data, and it works on a very low amount of data as well. And this assistive workflow is really quite useful when reducing workload and speeding time and making the entire experience better. So this is, I guess, what we're all here for. In terms of the results, here's the summary. You can jump into the details by downloading the report that we will give access to afterwards. The first result that I want to talk about, which is the most exciting result, is that we were able to get 99% accuracy when you consider the 25% confidence threshold. So ignoring any data that was below 25% confidence, we were able to have a remarkable amount of accuracy. And even if you don't consider the confidence threshold at all, the aggregate correct predictions was at 88.3%, which is remarkably high. And we were talking a lot about quantity of data. So you know that there were 15 essays for each question set that were used to train the models, which is incredibly low amounts of data to provide value right away. You can see directly that the band distribution fits well, high confidence correlates with accurate AI, and remember that when this is integrated directly into the platform, any additional marking will increase the accuracy of the model and the results as well. And as a result of this, we'll save a significant amount of time and increase the consistency of marking. So like I said, if you want to see the details of those 3 particular question breakdowns, we'll provide that in the report via email at the end. So jumping forward, we're going to now go into the demo, which John Allen will take over.
Hi everyone, I'm John, Commercial Director at Graide, and I'd like to show you how the platform works. So this is the back end of our platform, and there are lots of different question types that you can use it for, from mathematics to short text and image-based questions to multiple choice. You can even use Graide to help mark paper-based exams. And as Majinda touched upon earlier, we're working with a range of institutions from apprentice employers to training providers and universities to college groups. And I think the commonality is the belief that AI can assist and help us to deliver better education programs more effectively, reducing the time you spend marking, whilst improving the quality, consistency and timeliness of feedback to your learners. But today I'm just going to focus on 3 key areas, but please do drop me a line afterwards if you'd like a full demo of the platform, and I'd be more than happy to assist. The three key areas I'd like to focus on today are obviously our essay AI marking feature. We're just releasing document integrity this month, which is an exciting new addition to our proposition. And then also the enhanced analytics package that we're launching also. So firstly, diving into essay AI. So here on the right is our students' essay response. This could equally be a report. And over on the left is our marking rubric. So firstly, we'll build our rubric according to your main assessment criteria and learning outcomes. And this is very easily done. It's a sliding scale with specific points to indicate the requirements that you're grading against. So I can go into this assessment objective 1, and then I can set my rating point and the banding that I want to use when using this particular assessment criteria. And then I can do that throughout my key objectives. And the idea being that it makes it much easier and quicker for you to mark high volumes of essay and report work. And what I'd like to show you here is how to do it just using the platform. And then I'll show you how the AI layers on top for you. So we've built our rubric and we're looking through our students' essay. And it makes it nice and easy for us to give relevant, high quality feedback in these key areas to high volumes of students. And blend this ability to mark quickly and give great feedback with also the ability to give individual personalised feedback anywhere within a report. So we're blending the ability to mark quickly while also giving personalised individual feedback wherever it's needed. Now, excitingly, we've just launched the ability, as we've heard, for the AI to start to support you in doing this automatically. So we need a minimum of 5 historic submissions per data point within your rubric, which then will allow us to start to give really reliable and accurate marking without you having to particularly do very much. It will automatically start to put your students' essays within these banding areas to a very high degree of accuracy and certainty. I guess importantly, so it's blending AI with humans, so the humans remaining in control, checking they're happy with the suggestions that the AI is making, make any changes that are required. But the AI is doing a lot of that heavy lifting work for you, saving lots of time, but also giving valuable feedback exactly where a student needs it. And from our point of view, we really do think this is a first within this longer form, open and creative question space. And we're blending this with our ability to also answer other question types such as short text or maths, and to really provide a total end-to-end solution for any question type using AI to support you, giving great feedback, but reducing that marking time and administrative overheads when delivering programs. The second key feature I wanted to talk about was document integrity. So many people on the call today will possibly use Turnitin for plagiarism checking, but we are releasing our own ability to support you to flag potentially suspicious behaviour. And we can do this by gathering the insight on how students are interacting with our platform when they're submitting their responses. So here's an example of our first student's response. And as you can see, we've got a timeline of how they've created this response on the platform. So we can see, for example, they started this particular submission at 10:21 and they finished it at 10:32. So it took them about 11 minutes to submit this response. And then we've timestamped throughout the response so we can look to see how they interacted with the platform, the cadence of their typing speed. Did they do a lot of copying, pasting, or did they delete? To try and to interpret, is this human behavior or is it potentially plagiarism or using AI? And you might want to have a further look at these submissions. So really useful insight here. And then we can compare this versus another student's submission. And here it's just been submitted once very quickly. It's a complete block of text. So immediately we're starting to think, has this used ChatGPT as an example? And we would bucket this for you to have a further look at and potentially take to an academic review or integrity review. So really useful insight. And then I guess on the analytics side, which I'll jump to next for you, we can build a real powerful picture of students and tutor interactions with the website. So we can start to see where the strengths and growth areas are across groups or by individual learner. So here we've got a view of key trends. So we can start to have a look at which areas or topics our students are performing really well in, or which areas and topic areas they might need some further support. And again, this can be at a cohort level or at an individual learner level for you. You can start to see what assignments you've got and what needs to be completed by your markers or group of markers. You can release feedback at any point in time. And then I can really drill down into particular question types. So for example, my multiple choice questions, I can see we've had 98 currently submitted, and then I can go down further into the analytics to look at performance by feedback category overview, so I can see where the strengths and growth areas again are within this question type and within particular questions. So we really think this is going to take us beyond just helping you with your assessments into using that information to try and create individual personalised learner journeys, which will be great and beneficial for all our students, we hope. If you are intrigued by what you've seen today, we would like to invite any of the participants to get in touch afterwards, because we'd like to show you how we can build some AI models for your essay questions. So if there is an interest, we will happily take your questions and your historic submissions, build an AI model for you so you can really get to feel and touch how the platform could work with your use cases.